Have you ever wondered who the WWE wrestlers were that inspired fear backstage? Those who not only portrayed larger-than-life characters, but also had a formidable reputation outside the ring. If you think the ring is the only place where the action happens, wait until you meet the wrestlers who turned the backstage into true arenas of respect and fear. But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the amazing videos we'll be releasing. Ron Simmons is remembered by fans for his brutal presence in the APA and the Nation of Domination, but the respect he inspired went far beyond the cameras. Simmons didn't just play a tough guy, he was the real deal. Kurt Angle revealed that Simmons was the kind of man no one wanted to challenge backstage. Even the infamous Steiner brothers, known for their strength, avoided provoking him, knowing he could literally break their necks. Although he didn't have outlandish stories of fights with police and pepper spray, Simmons did not tolerate any disrespect. One of the most legendary stories was the altercation with Public Enemy on Sunday Night Heat. The duo arrived in WWE with a dismissive attitude, but Simmons and his partner JBL, both from the APA, decided to teach the rookies a lesson. Instead of a scripted match, what happened was a real fight, where the APA demolished the duo as if they were in a street brawl. Ron Simmons lived the tough persona not only in the ring, but in every part of the arena. A true monster, respected and feared. He was the kind of wrestler that others thought twice before challenging. In this scenario, Hawk and Animal, known as the feared Road Warriors, stood out. These guys were the real nightmare of any bully, and we're not just talking about in the ring. To understand the power of this duo, it's enough to say that even Haku, one of the most feared wrestlers in WWE history, was wary of crossing paths with them. With muscles and an unshakable attitude, Hawk and Animal were not just performers, they were forces of nature that challenged anyone, including Vince McMahon. In fact, what many don't know is that the Road Warriors' first run in WWE lasted only 2 years. The reason? They hated the childish character of Rocco, a ventriloquist dummy that WWE wanted to force down the public's throat as their partner. For Hawk and Animal, that was an insult, so unafraid of the consequences, they said goodbye and left. When they returned to WWE, it was expected that the story would be different, but it was another disappointment. This time, Vince and his creative team crossed the line by exploiting Hawk's real-life struggles with substance abuse in a controversial storyline. In a particularly tense scene, Hawk was shown falling from the Titantron, a tragic symbol of his personal battle. This was the last straw. Without looking back, Hawk and Animal left WWE again, demonstrating that self-respect was greater than any contract or promise of success. Although both have passed, Hawk in 2003 and Animal in 2020, the legacy of the Road Warriors is indestructible. Haku may not be a famous name among fans, but behind the scenes in wrestling, he is practically a legend of terror. With stints in WWE, WCW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, he never sought the spotlight. Still, the respect, or rather, the fear, that he inspired in other wrestlers is undeniable. One of the most notorious stories involves Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who complained to management about Haku's aggressiveness in the ring. The response? Haku tracked him down in the shower and made sure to show who was boss. But this confrontation is small potatoes compared to what he did in a bar. It is said that Haku, in the midst of a fight, shoved his fingers down a man's throat and ripped out his teeth. And to prove that no numbers intimidated him, he single-handedly faced 8 police officers who tried to subdue him with pepper spray. With his eyes closed and mouth open, Haku took a deep breath and charged into action. Rick Steiner summed up everyone's feelings that night by declaring Haku the toughest man on the planet, and no one there dared to disagree. Imagine being thrown into a whirlwind of brute force, where the only thing that can keep your head above water is courage. This is the territory of Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, a colossus who has no time for social niceties or anything that even remotely resembles the word affection. From an early age, Lesnar made it clear that he didn't care about the rules, let alone what others thought of him. Perhaps that's why he lives isolated in the middle of nowhere. He wants to be far away from everything and everyone. In one of the most surprising episodes of Steve Austin's podcast, Brock didn't mince words. He openly confessed his aversion to people.
I really don't like people. I'm sorry, I don't. That's just who I am.
Talk to me about that. What do you mean you don't like people?
I just don't like being around a bunch of people, and it's kind of ironic because I can go out in an arena full of 20,000 people and be all right with it.
Life for him is a constant war, and when the alarm for confrontation sounds, he is the first to respond, with or without warning. But perhaps nothing illustrates his explosive nature better than the legendary incident known as the plane ride from hell. Curt Hennig, known for his provocative demeanor, had the audacity to provoke Lesnar during the flight. The result? A not-so-friendly fight in mid-air, where Brock proved that there is a limit to those who try to mess with a predator. In just a few seconds, Lesnar turned the situation into a nightmare for Hennig, making it clear that in this ring, there is no chance for anyone to challenge him without facing the consequences. And when it comes to confrontations, Brock doesn't discriminate by size. At the 2018 Royal Rumble, Braun Strowman, a giant in every sense, felt Lesnar's wrath in a painful and unexpected way. An aggressive knee from Strowman was enough for Lesnar to teach him a lesson, responding with some real punches, sending the message that no one, not even a monster like Strowman, is above the discipline he imposes. The situation with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 34 may be the pinnacle of his fearlessness. After his brutal match against Roman Reigns, Lesnar grabbed the Universal Championship and threw it in the direction of his own boss. It was an act that perfectly summed up what Brock Lesnar is: relentless, impetuous, and, let's be honest, completely unpredictable. Is Lesnar a bad person? Maybe not, but he is definitely someone you don't want as an enemy. Harley Race was the definition of a survivor. From childhood, he overcame unimaginable obstacles. He conquered polio, faced cancer, and survived a near-fatal car accident. These challenges shaped him, making him one of the most feared and respected men behind the scenes in professional wrestling. During the territory days, Race was a living legend, and there was no shortage of stories about his toughness. Even Andre the Giant, a man who knew no fear, thought twice before facing Harley. Known for carrying a weapon, he never hesitated to show that he took his security seriously. In one of the most iconic stories, Hulk Hogan recalled in a podcast with Joe Rogan the moment Race threatened to set the ring on fire and said he would kill him. Despite the threats, Hogan was always a huge fan of Harley and deeply respected him. Race was one of those wrestlers who commanded respect without saying a word, with a history marked by resilience and intensity. Ravishing Rick Rude may have the appearance of a seducer with his impeccable hair and iconic mustache, but don't be fooled. He was a man who loved to get his hands dirty. Before shining as a professional wrestler, Rude worked as security, where bar fights were practically his favorite sport. What's more surprising, he often played the provocateur, frequently starting the trouble himself. Bruce Pritchard, on his podcast, Something to Wrestle, revealed that Rude and his girlfriend would go to bars not just to have fun, but to stir up trouble. Rude took peculiar pleasure in seeing other men flirt with his girlfriend, which gave him the perfect excuse to spring into action and defend his territory. Rude's reputation in bars was as feared as his persona in the ring, and he didn't hesitate to put other wrestlers in their place when the situation called for it. One of Rude's most famous fights was with the Ultimate Warrior. There are two versions of this confrontation. The first states that Warrior did not respect Rude and believed he didn't deserve to be in the Intercontinental title picture. This led to a direct confrontation, where Rudy took Warrior down. The second, more popular version, claims that Rude confronted Warrior over his excessive aggression in the ring. Warrior ignored the warning, and as a result, Rude knocked him out. Regardless of the version, the fact is that Rick Rude was a master at taking down opponents with style, while at the same time, he could easily steal the heart of any girl he desired. He was a true symbol of charm and toughness, showing that a seductive appearance can hide an unrelenting fighter. Steve Blackman, known as the Lethal Weapon, was more than just a character in the ring. He was a legitimate fighter with an impressive martial arts background. For Blackman, wrestling was not just a spectacle, it was a matter of life and death. His reputation as a dangerous wrestler was so deeply rooted that during the Brawl for All tournament, management was alarmed when they heard Blackman ask if he could hurt someone with a knee strike. Bob Holly, who participated in the tournament, revealed that this was the reason the rules were tightened, as everyone feared Blackman would genuinely take the opportunity to inflict harm. Backstage, his tough guy reputation was well known. Just ask Big Show, who had been taken down by Blackman surprisingly easily. However, Blackman's most legendary fight was against JBL. JBL, known for being a bully backstage, encountered an unexpected opponent in Blackman. The brawl between the two was intense and left many WWE colleagues on high alert. The only reason JBL didn't end up in the hospital was that during the confrontation, Blackman's foot got stuck in a bag, preventing the situation from escalating further. This story only added to the mystique surrounding Blackman, showing that despite his calm and focused appearance, he was a true predator in and out of the ring. For many, Steve Blackman was not just a wrestler, he was a reminder that behind the beauty of the spectacle lay a genuine ferocity that few dared to challenge. The Undertaker, a legend who walks between the living and the dead, is a figure that transcends the spectacle of WWE. His reputation was not built on bar fights or aggressive antics, but rather on the seriousness and respect he commanded backstage. To many, Taker was the unofficial locker room leader, a man who expected professionalism and dedication from everyone around him. Jim Cornette emphasized that he was a serious guy who maintained order and expected loyalty, fostering a cohesive group of wrestlers who steered clear of intrigue and gossip, unlike other factions. However, behind his imposing persona lay a fierce and protective side. In a pivotal moment, The Undertaker didn't hesitate to force Vince McMahon to confront Bret Hart following the controversial Montreal Screwjob, demonstrating that he always prioritized the business's well-being above all else. His influence extended further. He also challenged Shawn Michaels, who was reluctant to lose the title to Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14. This type of attitude made it clear that Taker was a man of principles, willing to fight for what he believed in. The legend of The Undertaker is not solely about his victories and defeats, but about his unwavering commitment to WWE. He was a titan who maintained order and integrity both inside and outside the ring, a true mentor who commanded respect through his actions. For everyone who had the opportunity to cross his path, The Undertaker was more than just a wrestler. He was a pillar of strength and integrity, someone who knew how to assert his presence and respect in the world of wrestling. Andre the Giant, the wrestling colossus, was a true paradox. Known as the Gentle Giant, he won hearts with his smile and kindness. Wrestlers like Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart remember him as a loyal and generous friend, always willing to offer advice and support backstage. But don't be fooled. Andre's kindness didn't mean he was someone to be underestimated. If he took a dislike to someone, the situation could quickly escalate. His story is filled with episodes that showcase his immense presence, both physically and emotionally. One of the most memorable moments occurred when Kamala, the exotic wrestler, pulled a weapon on Andre after a match. This incident illustrates not only the respect wrestlers had for the Giant, but also the fact that, when tensions flared, no one was safe from his wrath. Andre truly valued wrestling and held an unwavering respect for those who shared his passion for the sport. He understood that the industry was rife with egos and rivalries, but he always made a point to treat those who showed dedication and respect with kindness. The Gentle Giant could be a force of nature, but he was also a champion of camaraderie and loyalty. And when it came to protecting his friends and colleagues, he didn't hesitate to stand up. Thus, Andre the Giant's life was marked by this duality. A man of immense strength and presence who was, on one hand, beloved and respected by many, yet on the other, was not afraid to express his displeasure when disrespected. In the wrestling world, where the line between friend and foe is often blurred, Andre stood out as a legend who uniquely balanced kindness and ferocity. New Jack is a name that resonates with an echo of madness and intensity in the wrestling world. If you're looking for a tale of triumph, you might not find it here. Instead, you will encounter a life marked by tragedies and a personality that challenged the limits of sanity. From a young age, New Jack did not have a typical childhood. Watching his father stab his mother was just the first act of a life filled with violence. Crime and imprisonment were common chapters in his story, shaping a man who would become synonymous with danger in the ring. When he joined ECW, New Jack brought not just his wrestling skills, he brought his visceral essence and willingness to engage in battles that transcended the boundaries of what was deemed acceptable. His gimmick was not just a character, it was an extension of his real life, making him incredibly popular, but also extremely unpredictable. Wrestling with New Jack meant taking risks that few would be willing to assume. One of the most notorious incidents of New Jack's career was when he threw Vic Grimes from a height of 12 feet, a brutal act of revenge after a previous accident that had caused him brain damage. This was not a casual action. It was a reflection of his disturbed mindset, where the line between revenge and entertainment was dangerously blurred. However, nothing compares to the incident where he stabbed Hunter Red 9 times during a match. With a look of determination, New Jack vowed to turn that violent event into a storyline, preventing Red from filing charges. From that moment on, their lives took different paths, and contact between them was never re-established. Although New Jack auditioned for WWE, the company's internal politics ultimately barred him. In fact, many argued that this was a blessing in disguise, as WWE wrestling required a level of control that New Jack simply could not submit to. He was a force of nature, a storm that could not be tamed, and his brand of insanity would surely have posed a challenge for any organization. In summary, New Jack was not just a wrestler, he was a phenomenon, an explosion of adrenaline and chaos that redefined what it means to be an anti-hero in the wrestling world. And while some may see him as a legend, others recognize him as a cautionary tale about the dangers of crossing the line between spectacle and reality. Who do you think is more terrifying in the wrestling world? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. See you in the next one.